Hi there, this is Dr. Jessica Durbin, and I'm going to be speaking with you today about social media, exploring the adolescent mental health risks. So first off, we're going to talk about the learning objectives. So hopefully by the end of this, you will be able to examine the relationship between social media and self-esteem and well-being of adolescents. The primary age of this population is everywhere from 11 to 18. I would like you to be able to describe the clinically relevant practice implications of social media use by your pediatric patients, and then you should be able to utilize resources and screening tools to educate, screen, and intervene in your at-risk pediatric patients. So before we get into the prevalence, I do want to give you some statistics. These are just easily pulled from the media, but it does illustrate why this is such an important topic for us as providers. Last year, December 5th, there was a 13-year-old in Delaware in the United States who hung herself. March 6th, there was a 12-year-old Mississippi boy who hung himself. March 22nd, a 12-year-old Ohio boy committed suicide. March 31st, a 12-year-old girl committed suicide. And April 6th, a 12-year-old boy committed suicide by a gunshot wound. Those are just a few that have been directly tied to social media use and bullying in the United States. There is a new study out that shows that cyberbullying victims are 2 times likely to self-harm. So this self-harm has skyrocketed in just the last couple of years. So the prevalence of social media use is extremely important. 92% of teens are using social media daily. 92% of American teenagers go online every single day. 71% are using Facebook. The statistic was from 2017 that 52% are using Instagram, 41% using Snapchat, and 33% are using Twitter. But I can tell you those have increased greatly. 50% of teens say that they feel addicted to their mobile device. When we have students that are required to have mobile device access to participate in sports and extracurricular activities, we have started to see a huge increase in the use of these by this population. So a little bit more about cyberbullying. 39% of teens report being cyberbullied regularly. 7 in 10 teens report that have been at least one incident of being bullied online. That's 70% of our teens have at least been bullied one time. Just sit back and think about that. That's staggering. More concerning is that only 12 of those bullied actually stopped using the social media site where that occurred. 70% of those being cyberbullied do go to school with the perpetrator. As a parent myself, this is an upsetting statistic that only 18% of those bullied reported it to a parent. 15% of students will admit to cyberbullying others, and there is a huge overlap, as you can see, from cyberbullying and in-person bullying, and that also causes problems when students want to change school districts or change school locations. Students already know who they are, so sometimes what they've been bullied for may carry over. From 2010 to 2011, there were 1 million children who reported being harassed, threatened, or subjected to any other kinds of cyberbullying on Facebook alone. 160,000 kids stay home from school every day because they are afraid of being bullied. 44% of cyberbullies report poor emotional attachment to their caregivers, and this is something that we can screen for as providers. This is something that we see every day in restaurants and in stores and on the street. Everyone's looking down at their phones. It's very sad. So let's talk some more about general social media use and some other health trends. Sleep. So there is a study by Woods and Scott in 2016. 467 students were interviewed utilizing the Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index, and it was found that 35% of those suffered from poor sleep quality associated with using social media at night. Espinoza found that 37% reported losing sleep due to the use of social networking sites. And Heising et al. Found that daytime and bedtime use of electronic devices were both related to sleep measures and an increased risk of short sleep duration, long sleep onset latency, and increased sleep deficiency. And these are only worsening. And lack of sleep can add into mental health. In 2017, Vernon found that nighttime use of a cell phone can increase anxiety and depression and decrease the self-esteem of adolescents. The rates of anxiety and depression in young people have risen 70% in the past 2 decades. So if you look at what has also grown exponentially is the use of the internet, access of electronic devices by younger and younger populations, and then of course the number of social media sites that students, children have access to. Vernon also found a link between using cell phones at night and disrupted sleep. So again, those tie into one another, and that can lead to depression, emotional fragility, and acting out, including being bullied or bullying others. So mood and self-esteem. Another study looked at almost 1,900 students. The more invested they were in social networking sites, the higher levels of depressed mood and negative self-esteem they displayed. Richardson's found that there is a negative impact on self-esteem, well-being, and body image in adolescents that use social media. Woods and Scott found that overall social media use, emotional investment, nighttime specific social media use was associated with higher increased levels of anxiety, depression, and lowered self-esteem. Another study in 2012, this is an older one, studied 160 students specifically looking for depression, and 104 students found minimal depression, 46 were mild, and 10 were moderate. And if you look at those numbers, that is every student that was studied had some amount of depression. Why does this matter? 91% of 16 to 24-year-olds are using the internet for social networking. These are the years that are crucial for emotional and psychological development of teens. This enforces the need for greater understanding of social media's impact. We as parents and providers and school counselors and teachers, we need to understand that this has a huge impact on their future. Young people who are heavy users, which is defined by spending more than 2 hours per day on social networking sites such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, are more likely to report poor mental health, including anxiety and depression. Some other studies have shown that social media has been more addictive than cigarettes and alcohol, and this is 2017, so this is the Royal Society for Public Health in the UK. Why does it matter? Rates of anxiety and depression have risen in young adolescents 70% in the past 25 years. Social media itself alone is linked with increased rates of anxiety, depression, and poor sleep. Cyberbullying is continually growing. Again, 70% of young people have experienced it. 37% experience it on a high-frequency basis. Young people are twice as likely to be bullied on Facebook than any other social network. So what network are they using? Those are also important things. And victims who are bullied are more likely to experience low academic performance, depression, anxiety, loneliness, sleep and eating disturbances, and then again self-harm, as we discussed before. So think about why students may not, and why our patients may not be telling us. There was one study that studied 16,000 students, and 33% reported that they did not tell an adult about being cyberbullied because they did not feel the adult could help. So that is our challenge, to make them understand that there are people to talk to, there is somewhere to go, and you, in no circumstance do you have nobody. Everyone has someone, and we can make a huge difference in our patients simply by asking them, are you using social media, and how do you feel when you use it? And letting them know that, hey, if you cut it off, at an hour, hour and a half, you're much less likely to have long-term impacts on your mood and your sleep and self-esteem. So what can we do? We should be screening at every visit for social media use. We should screen at every visit for sleep quality in our adolescent patients. We should screen at every visit for depression and anxiety, just as we do for tobacco use or drug use. We should evaluate potential risk of victimization. Are you being bullied? Is anyone harassing you online? And then we should evaluate the associated risk for self-harm and suicide. So here are some resources. There's the SAMHSA.gov. It's a questionnaire. There are some screening tools here. There's the Stop Bullying website, CDC Violence Prevention. So all of those are going to be in the handout as well. And anyone that wants to contact me, I can also share the PowerPoint with you or the resources. Here are the references for this presentation. What I did not put in the references is actually my published work. I do have a publication on this in the Nurse Practitioner Journal. I'm sorry, nope, that one's not in the Nurse Practitioner Journal. That one's in the Clinical Advisor. So I can also share copies of that article with anyone that would like it. We have a lot of references. And then, so again, I can share those with anyone that would like them. And there's a picture of me, since you don't have me in person. I am Jessica Durbin, a doctor of nursing practice for Indiana State University. I am the FNP program director. You can contact me at jessica.durbin@indstate.edu. And this is my passion, so any discussion anyone wants to have, I would love to have. If you have any questions, feel free to email them to me, and I will answer them as best I can. And I hope everyone there is enjoying Rome. Thank you so much for attending and for listening and for finding this topic as interesting as I do. Thank you so much.